I'm Roisin Levine. I'm head of UKI European Partnerships for Wise Platform. Welcome to our mini-series How We're Fixing, where we're talking to leaders across the fintech and finance space about the problems they're solving for their customers. Delighted to have on the podcast today Emily Trant, Head of Impact and Inclusion from Wagestream. Thank you so much for joining us. Emily, please tell us a little bit about yourself and your remit at Wagestream.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Roisin. So like you say, my name's Emily. I'm Head of Impact and Inclusion at Wagestream. And my job is to look after the social impact that our products and services deliver to our end users, and then how that flows through to society as a whole.
Wagestream, talk to me about the origin story and the problem you're solving for customers.
So Wagestream was founded a little over 4 years ago, and the main problem we're solving for customers is there's a huge proportion of the workforce, so nearly 55%, who are frontline workers. They have to go to work, and they're typically paid on an hourly basis. And for them, the traditional financial services sector is just not set up to serve them. So one of their main assets, which is their earned but unpaid wages, there's no way to access that and to kind of manage their cash flow in this rigid pay cycle. So Wagestream's original proposition was to unlock that pay cycle and let people have access to their pay on demand so they could manage their cash flow as they see fit.
And it's an interesting thing because we now all get paid monthly, and really it's actually getting paid after we've done the work. And so ultimately this doesn't suit everyone's lifestyle. So I guess Wagestream, interestingly, is helping people, move away from things like payday loans. Talk to us about that. How does that kind of help people?
Yeah, exactly. So as a bit of background, about 20% of the population has less than £100 in savings. So they're living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
So if you've got no money in your bank account and you're waiting paycheck to paycheck, if your bills are out of sync with your pay, and particularly in sort of sectors like hospitality where you're not paid monthly, you're paid on a 4-week cycle.
Yeah.
So the day you get paid changes every month. Having an ability to sort of tap into your earned wages to pay for those bills, kind of in line with when you need to pay for them, is really important. This is incredibly different from the payday loans industry, which extends additional credit. So it's not about earned wages, it's about extending additional credit, and it's really highly priced.
Got you.
So payday loans can add up to over 1,000% APR if you run them for a year, which is
Wow.
outrageous.
Yeah, that is outrageous. Okay, so much better, especially given the cost of living crisis we're seeing today, for people to be able to access what they've already earned ultimately in a safe, secure way. What about the actual employers then? How are they thinking about things? Surely the current environment is helping them think about financial well-being more so for their employees.
Yeah, so we're really proud to work with some leading employers who already care really quite a lot about the financial well-being of their workforce and have been early adopters for this proposition. What we're seeing now is some of the pragmatist buyers, some of the laggards are actually becoming aware that financial well-being as a solution for their workforce is not a nice to have, it's a need to have in this cost of living crisis.
Yeah, and what's the benefits for them ultimately? I get happy employees, but there must be other things as well.
The business ROI is actually astonishing in terms of the benefit to an employer of having a financial wellbeing proposition. So there's things like time to recruit. You can recruit 27% faster, and particularly in high churn industries, this is really problematic, getting the staff to come and work for you. Retention improves, even shift fill. So we look at things like how much overtime people are willing to work, how much you can sort of fill those unsociable shifts.
Yep.
And we're also helping organizations that rely on large banks of agency staff move from agency to full-time employees because of this proposition.
Got you. And talk to us a little bit then about what is kind of next, I suppose. So you're working with employees, helping them access the pay they already have earned. What next for kind of Wagestream in terms of the kind of financial well-being piece?
So the core financial well-being proposition, so it includes that access to pay as they need it. It also includes visibility over their pay as it accrues during a pay period.
Yep.
And that's actually the power feature of Wagestream. So giving a tool to people to see how much they've worked this pay period and what that pay is worth. This is why the Wagestream app is checked 21 times a month by our average users. Okay. And then we also have a savings proposition where you can save directly from payroll, and you can do really neat things like if you're a shift worker, you can round down the pennies on every shift worked, and we have in-app financial coaching. So there's a lot in place right now already as a holistic financial well-being proposition. But what's next, we're looking at drivers of the poverty premium, so the amount that lower income households pay more to access the same financial goods and services you and I access, and how we can solve that for our workforce. So we're investing in areas like insurance, which is the #1 driver of the poverty premium right now, and also considering what we could do in the credit space.
Really interesting. Okay, and I guess for all this to actually work and be seamless and the access to work very well, you must have to tap into kind of workforce management software. Talk a little bit about what that looks like, those integrations, and how you go about those partnerships.
Yeah, so we have hundreds of integrations with payroll providers, workforce management software, time and attendance providers, because we need to consume a feed of sort of hours worked and wage information to make that information available to our end users. So we typically build sort of turnkey solutions with key providers in certain sectors. For example, Forth Hospitality is a big provider of time and attendance in the hospitality sector. And so when we launch to a Forth client now, there's almost no work to be done at either end. We can just turn it on for them. And so those partnerships allow us to consume that feed of data so that we can run our service and we can help people see what they've earned to date and also draw down some of those approved earnings.
Got you. And I also noticed you're kind of built in conjunction with charities. How does that work? Is it a partnership? Are they holding you guys accountable? What's the relationship there?
Yeah, so this is a really unique setup for Wagestream. And so our founding investors are charity-backed kind of social purpose VCs.
Right.
So these are organizations like the Fair by Design Fund, the Joseph Rowntree Foundation, Big Society Capital, Social Tech Trust, and a few others in there as well. And what has happened, so Wagestream has founded with a social charter. So in every company's articles of association, they kind of describe their purpose and what they're being held to account for. And we are being held to account as a commercial organization, so to return to shareholders, but also to combat the poverty premium and to improve financial well-being for frontline workers. Right. So this is baked into how we run the company, and it means every round of fundraising we do, our additional investors have to sign up to that social charter so that we are constantly measured both on commercial and social performance.
Wow, okay, that is quite a big difference then from a lot of how companies work. Okay, so really a fintech for good, ultimately, in terms of the mission. And has the mission changed at all since you've been at Wagestream? Has there been any kind of variations or evolutions of what you've been trying to do?
So the very early mission of Wagestream was to eradicate the payday loans industry.
Right.
And through effective regulation, that's more or less been taken care of now. The mission has broadened to be all about building financial well-being tools for frontline workers. So we look at the way frontline workers are underserved by traditional financial services. They're not desired as a customer by mainstream banking.
Right.
And so we're looking at how can we, in collaboration with employers who do very much care about their workforce, actually build better financial services to meet their needs and to deliver fair pricing to them as well.
Got you. And I guess the big difference here is that they can access the wages they've already earned, and it's for a very small fee, rather than going elsewhere where, as you said, the kind of fees can be very high, or they dip into overdrafts and things like that and find themselves into financial difficulty. Do you do any kind of, I guess, investigation or research on kind of the impact that it makes for the people that you're helping?
Yeah, so we do a huge amount of research into the people who use the Wagestream product and the impact that we have. So firstly, as I said, we're accountable to our investors and our charity backers for improving the poverty premium and delivering financial well-being. So we report data to them on a quarterly basis, and we look at things like how people have substituted using Wagestream for payday loans, catalogs, other forms of high-cost credit, and we report on that figure as it grows over time. We also have a really extensive program of research where we partner with leading academics. So we work with sort of Ivy League universities in the US to do deep research into kind of in-work poverty and financial inclusion, and we do our own surveying as well. We also publish publicly our impact assessments in terms of what the impact we're having on individuals' lives and how they're using this product. So yeah, lots of research going on.
No, amazing, and also very transparent, which I think is one of our mission pillars at Wise, is kind of being really kind of obvious about what you're doing as a company and saying this is how we're helping and this is kind of the reality of the situation, which we really like. Tell us a little bit more about kind of what's next. So obviously you guys, you did your fundraise, you're obviously growing hugely, you've got some really big clients now. What's coming up on the roadmap?
So part of the fundraise was about investing in two key areas, and one was building up our US operation. So we have a team of about 40 now out of DC in the US. It's a huge market, and there's even more financial stress in the US than there is in the UK and Europe, so it's a big problem to solve. And then the other part of the fundraise was investing in product and investing in financial products that can serve our workforce. So as well as things like the Wise partnership and other product propositions where we're looking to integrate to offer best in class, we're looking at how we can recut certain products, insurance being one of them, where it's dramatically unfair for low-income households and individuals, and how we, through that relationship with our employer, through the data that we hold, and through our capabilities, can make that pricing much more fair for frontline workers.
Got you. We're obviously really excited about the partnership that's just launched with Wise. Talk to us a little bit about why that's important to Wagestream and ultimately the end user.
Yeah, I'm really excited too, and it's really important to our users who, as I keep saying, they're frontline workers that go to work. They're not sat in front of a laptop all day. They're typically working on their feet.
Yeah.
And in one of our co-creation workshops, where we do sort of deep user research and co-design what we're doing next, I was fairly horrified to discover that a large proportion of individuals who were sending money overseas, because they're supporting family overseas, had no awareness of a lot of propositions on the market, kind of were spending far too much on something that was really essential to them. And we know through our research and through the users we support, about 20% of our user base are supporting friends and family overseas.
Okay.
And what's important about the partnership is two things. One is the pricing and the transparency of the service, so making sure we're giving a really great service to people who don't necessarily have the time or the inclination to shop around.
Yep.
And the second thing is, because it's connected to Wagestream, it means that they can still use our normal flow where they can access some of their pay on demand and remit it if they need to.
Yeah.
And again, we know from speaking to people, they tell us, you know, when family asks for help, they need it now. It's not a could you do this, it's you must do this. So previously they might have been going and getting a payday loan or other forms of high cost credit and then using an expensive remittance provider to send it to family overseas. Now they can do it in a tap in the app and they can get the best pricing, and they can also make sure that they're not sort of overstretching themselves in their ability to send that money.
Amazing. And this is exactly why we've kind of built the Wise platform, because ultimately we understand that people want to move money from the place where their money sits today. They won't necessarily always want to come to wise.com themselves, or they may not be aware of things. So it's great that you're kind of showcasing that within the app and they have that choice. They can see all fees up front, and obviously we provide much cheaper fees than usual banks, and also much quicker in terms of flow to get that to the right place. So brilliant to hear that, and very excited that we've been able to launch it together.
Yeah, I'm really excited to show it off because we've worked incredibly hard together on the collective user experience, and it's really slick, it's really transparent. I've used it myself and I loved it.
Awesome. Talk to me about savings. I know a lot of people in the UK actually don't have a great deal of savings. Do you find that as well in your own research?
Yeah, so we know through industry research from organisations like Money and Pension Service that 20% of the population has £100 or less, and often zero. And we also know from our own research that the average shift worker, the hours they work on a monthly basis, varies by as much as 37 hours month to month. So there's this huge lumpiness in how much people are earning. And if you don't have savings in the bank, you can be a bit stuck. And that's why we're really focused on developing savings as part of our proposition. We've had it for a while now. We're really proud that almost a third of our users have opened a savings pot with Wagestream and are saving. Many of them for the first time ever.
Wow.
And we're also really excited about the ways that we're developing savings. So we've got some research coming up really soon. We'll be launching it in the autumn, where we're going to be testing what happens when you flip the default. So a lot of people say, I want to save, I know I should save, but I haven't got around to setting it up. And so we're going to test what happens if you set it up for them. Choice remains the same, and they can choose to opt out if they don't want to save.
Very interesting. So sort of like the kind of nudge economic idea of the sort of like auto-enrollment pension, and see if that helps people get to that savings goal.
It's exactly like that auto-enrollment program for pensions, and the research has been designed by the same organisation that sat behind auto-enrollment. So they've kind of solved for long-term pension well-being, and now they're looking at short-term and emergency savings, and what can employers do through a payroll savings proposition to help people save more. Amazing.
And that would be an incredible achievement basically for those people to now to start to have that kind of financial well-being where they actually have savings for the first time. I would like to ask, you obviously work with big corporates, we've got some big brand names I know that ultimately Wagestream are kind of working with at the moment. Is it just the kind of larger enterprise kind of customers then that you see yourself working with today?
Yeah, not at all. So historically, Wagestream was an enterprise sales proposition, and we started off our journey by selling to the largest organisations. Right. We've worked really hard over the last 6 months on our SME proposition, and we can now serve even micro businesses.
Okay.
So we're getting an increasing number of small businesses who really care about their employees, who really care about financial well-being, and we've got an entire toolkit designed just for them. So they get access to all the same things the enterprises do.
Brilliant. And I guess this is good for kind of hospitality, restaurant chains, that kind of thing, small businesses, maybe local retailers, that sort of thing.
Yeah, any kind of high street business, especially kind of, small franchises or kind of one-off organizations where they have kind of 10 upwards employees.
Yeah.
And again, what we find is in those small businesses, it's kind of the owner operator who's dealing directly with the financial well-being of their workforce. They're kind of hearing the stories themselves, and they really care about it. So there's a lot of heart coming from those small businesses. Really happy to be able to support them.
Super interesting. Thank you. Well, we're so happy to be partnering with you. It's been amazing working with you guys, and thank you so much for all your help so far. And thank you obviously for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you so much. We're really excited too.